Hello everyone and welcome back to Project Ozone Reloaded Titan Mode. This is episode 41 and today we're going to start out by finishing just a couple of more Galacticraft quests and then we're going to go and pay a visit into outer space, I guess. So in the last episode I actually did finish making the tier 1 rocket, but I never turned in the quest. Now, I also had another problem that I went ahead and fixed between episodes. A lot of times I've noticed that the quest book doesn't pick up when you have a detection quest. It doesn't pick up that you've got the item if you don't go in and check it. That's why you see me checking things a lot. In this case it didn't, and I was not able to pick it up off the launch pad and get credit for it. Apparently the item changes in some way when you do that that's not detectable by the quest book. So I had to go and make another tier 1 rocket. No great disaster, but I did have to make another one in order to get the quest credit. Let's go ahead and claim the reward. And it's just a good bag, so yeah, long fall boots and aerial faithplate. Okay, let's head back downstairs and work on just a couple more because I do have the materials for them. These are technically after you launch the rocket for the first time, but let's go ahead and do them anyway if we can. Where is that elevator? There we go. Alright, the next one in this chapter is cheese, which says it involves cheese ore from the moon. It wants us to make a block of cheese, which is cheese curd around a milk bucket, and cheese curd in turn is made by smelting cheese ore, which does in fact come from the moon, but it also comes from the Mine Factory Reloaded laser, so I have lots of it. So let's just take and smelt down some of this cheese ore to get some cheese curd. And I should get enough to go ahead and get a bucket of milk and process that up. See if I've got milk. I do. If I didn't, I wouldn't have to make it I wouldn't have to get a cow or anything like that to make it. I've got plenty of cow essence from magical crops, so that wouldn't be an issue. Okay, so we've made a block of cheese. We can claim the reward here. Another supposedly good bag with sewage floor. Not exactly anything I was hoping to get, but that's okay. At this point, I think they're kind of all things that I'm not hoping to get all that much. Okay, so the next item here is the timeless satellite. Yeah, this is making things that are necessary in order to make your space station. And I've had all of these things for a little while now. The advanced wafer was the most recent one. Other than that, it's just iron ingots, tin ingots, and aluminum ingots. But I've had all of these things. We do need to take these things with us in these quantities that are mentioned when we first launch up so that we can build a space station. I certainly will do that in this episode, actually. Let's see what we got for a reward. Belt of water walking. Alright, and is there anything else in here before we launch? Now, there's an airlock. I think this might require... Yeah, this requires compressed meteoric iron, which is a material that I do not have and that I can only obtain once I'm in space. So we're basically ready to launch as soon as I confirm that I've got all the materials that I kind of want in order to do that. So let me go through here and double check, and I will be back when I've done that, and I'm sure that I have everything I need. Okay, I'm back. Let's take a quick look at a couple other things I did between episodes before we get going here. One of them was that I made this basic oxygen setup here. This is a simple setup to go and make oxygen canisters. You do need oxygen canisters before you go into space. I've got 2 heavy oxygen tanks equipped, and I'm carrying 2 more in my inventory, and really there are a bunch more in here. There are 6 more, and then there are 2 extra empty tanks here. But there are 6 more of these things in the AE system. And what I've done here is I've set up a very basic system with an oxygen collector and an oxygen compressor and a chest on the back. The chest has a couple of filters on it on the extract side. They're advanced filters so that they can pay attention to metadata. And this one is extracting empties from the chest, and this one is extracting full ones from the oxygen compressor. So I can just put empties in here and they will get filled up. So it's not anything fancy. It's not hooked up to the AE system. It could be done a lot more elaborately, but this is a simple setup that will work for this purpose. The place where oxygen actually comes from is the leaves on these trees. And so do keep that in mind. You need some trees or some wheat or something like that based on the research I've done. I don't have a comprehensive list of everything that works because this is not really a very familiar mod to me, but that is what I came up with, and that is filling oxygen canisters just fine. Now the other thing that I've done is I've gone and done a basic setup here for fueling this rocket. You do have to have fuel for the rocket. There are a couple other things we're going to need too. We're going to need 32 tin ingots, 24 iron ingots, 16 aluminum ingots, and 1 advanced wafer to build a space station. I'm not really going to stay at the space station for very long, but I am going to take and build it. I think that my main space base, if you will, is going to be on the moon. And the only real reason for doing it that way is you've got more space and it's a little easier to maneuver around, not so awkward. Unfortunately, you do have mobs spawning on the moon, but that's actually an advantage for purposes of finishing one of the simple achievements, because there is a simple achievement for, let's see if I can find it here. Oh, let's see. Use open modular turrets, railgun. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. Use open modular turrets to defend your bases if mobs can spawn in that dimension. So I'm going to need a base where mobs can spawn, where I specifically use open modular turrets to defend the base. It says bases, but I'm going to just say that one base will do it, because there's really no point in defending this base with that, because mobs don't really spawn here with all the lights. But I will make it so that I have a base somewhere that's just got some walls around the outside, and all the entrances are guarded with turrets and that sort of stuff at some point. It won't be immediate, but I will do that in order to get that achievement. And I'll do it on the moon, because I think the moon is a very practical place to do that. Okay, to fuel the rocket, I'm going to need to get power to this fuel loader. And the fuel loader has 2 inputs. One of them is square, and the other one, can I see it over here? It seems like, well, the other one's on the opposite side over here, but I don't think that it matters, because I was able to fuel it just by putting a tank on top, I think. Let me verify that. I've got a resonant portable tank here, and it's got gasoline in it. If I put this tank on top and wrench it so that it is doing an output, it doesn't appear to be fueling right now. Let's see what happens if I power. And just to be safe, I'm going to rotate this so that we've got the round side over here. The round side is really the fuel input. The fluid input, and the square side is the power input. So let me just put the power over here. Now that it's got power, it's still not going to fuel the way I was wanting it to. It seems like I have done this before, though, without it needing that. Not sure, but I can easily go and put a pressurized fuel conduit here and grab this tank off of there and put it here. And then, rather than getting under there and trying to adjust this, I can just go ahead and wrench that tank again to force the fluid out. So now we've got fuel in here, and I believe it's already fueled the rocket. I would have to get in the rocket in order to tell for sure, I think, but I think if it's full power and it's full fuel, then it is attached properly, which it is, then it should have already completely fueled the rocket, because it doesn't take that much, like maybe a bucket. Okay, so at least not for the tier 1 one. So we've got that. The other thing I'm going to need is I'm going to need another fuel loader for the space station itself in order to fuel the rocket for a return trip, except that I'm probably not going to do the return trip that way. But if you do decide to do it that way, you will need a fuel loader, you'll need a rocket launch pad, you'll need some way to power everything. A Tesseract would do nicely. I'm going to need a Tesseract for power anyway. Wonder why I have all those birchwood planks. I don't know. Let's put them away. All right. So you need your materials for constructing this. You need your way of getting home. And it's kind of a good idea to have some oxygen. I won't be there long enough to run out of the oxygen that's already in my suit. But it's a good idea to have some spare oxygen anytime you're going to go into one of these environments. Now, the other thing that I guess I should mention that I did, I haven't tried it recently, but I did go ahead and make the parachute, because I believe with the parachute you can simply jump off the station and drift back down to Earth and then fall all the way back down to the world. Now, that actually probably makes a whole lot more sense if you're not on a sky block, because there will be something underneath you everywhere. In a sky block, you could fall 100 blocks from your base and then have nothing to protect you from just falling into the void, I guess. I don't know where it will have you fall, but do be aware that the parachute may not be the greatest option for that. I did go ahead and make one anyway, but I'm not planning on jumping out of the station. Now, I guess that's about it. Let me pick up this chest. I might decide I want a chest up there. Obviously, I could pull it out of the AE system using the wireless, but at least I hope I can. Let's get in the rocket and go to the moon. So we've got a 20-second countdown here. We can actually, I should mention, even though it's not clear here, you can exit the rocket by right-clicking, I think. Yeah, that works. It doesn't say that in the instructions, but you can. You can also maneuver the rocket if you want. I don't see any real reason to do that. If we just hit space, well, if we hit F, we can see how much fuel. It is fully fueled. If we hit space, it will launch after a 20-second countdown, and then we'll fly up a long ways, and then it will transition to the solar system map. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait for that to happen. It's not exactly a fast process. We do have a bar over here on the side that shows how high we are, and we're going up. Eventually, we should see a bar down in the lower right-hand corner, I think, for the oxygen supply. Ooh, our rocket seems to have snagged. Do I need to... There we go. Had to get off that cloud, I guess. Okay, so we're going up, and... I assume that it probably uses more fuel if you don't go straight up. I don't know, but that would seem logical. We're at about block 700, and I think it's about 1200 that we're going to get to before we transition to the solar system map, something like that. And we do have a horizontal component to our motion. You can tell from the mini map. Okay, so here we are in the solar system map, and it will list all the places that we could theoretically go. I think the only places we can go right now are the moon and the space station. Let's go ahead and click on the Earth again. It will zoom in, and we can see the moon. If we were to click on the moon, like here, then we could hit return to go to the moon. We don't want to do that. So let's go back to the overworld, and it says a space station can be created here, and we've got the components listed that we need. We did bring them along. They have to be in your inventory. Let's hit create, and that should Is it going to give us the option of a space station? I don't see one. There we go. I just did some stuff to redraw. So we have the space station. Let's select it. And if we then hit enter, it should land us on the space station. There we go. So here we are, and the pair of chests that just dropped there, it is such a pain. Even with flying, it's kind of a pain to maneuver around on this space station. But this contains our rocket and our launch pad and whatever fuel was left over. And a standard fluid conduit won't pump out of this. There's some Galacticraft way to do it. I'm not going to mess with it. That is certainly something to be aware of, though. And we could set up the launch pad here and launch a rocket. That's certainly an option. We could build out up here. We could put in some oxygen and all that sort of stuff. And maybe that's not such a terrible idea, but I don't want to do it right now, I don't think. Let me get some blocks to work with. And what I'm going to do is just fill in this area. And make a way home. And what we're going to use for a way home is I'm just going to put a tesseract in there. I'm going to hook it up to main power. And then I think I have in my bag here a teleport plate. And I will also need my multimeter. So we can take the teleport plate and I'll put it down there. Go for the multimeter and put base and put it there. And this we'll call space station. Just like that. Ooh, music has started now for some reason. Okay, well all I have to do now is go stand on the plate, and it should transport me back to my base. Okay. So that takes care of building a space station. I can go back at some point and expand it if needed. I don't know that I really want to do that much development on the space station, but it's certainly worth showing no matter what. Let's go ahead and rebuild the launch platform and put the rocket back on it. Okay, so the next place to go would be the moon. And I'm going to want a few additional supplies before I go to the moon, so I will be right back after I make them. Okay, I've gotten some additional gear that will be hopefully a little bit helpful on the moon. I don't know that I really need all of this stuff at this point, but I am going to need a little of it, and we'll just sort of see. What I went ahead and prepared for was I've still got my heavy oxygen tanks. I went ahead and brought another tesseract and teleport plate, and really all of this stuff could have just been left in the AE system. I've just sort of pulled it out to show it. I've got some dirt blocks and trees for growing some trees on the moon, and that's going to be necessary in order to set up a bunch of oxygen equipment. Now at the moment I'm not bringing the oxygen sealer because I don't have the capability of making an airlock, and so I can't really make an enclosed space that I can easily go in and out of. However, I am going to be bringing some oxygen collectors, oxygen storage, oxygen compressor so that I can fill up some tanks. I'm also going to bring an oxygen detector and an oxygen bubble distributor. The bubble distributor will make a sort of a dome of oxygen in which, without needing to be enclosed, if I understand it correctly. So that will be potentially useful for just making a small safe area. Also for making a small safe area, I am bringing some interdiction torches. These repel nearby mobs. They basically push them away. And that's going to be a little bit convenient until I get some sort of enclosure going on, because there are mobs on the moon. I just don't really have any control over them, and I want to be able to concentrate on doing a little bit of construction not on having to kill every mob that happens to roam into range right away. Okay, the other thing, obviously, a fuel loader and a rocket launch pad in case I would like to go ahead and set up a rocket launch pad and launch myself back. I think I'll just use the teleport plate, but just be aware that you might need those things. Alright, so let's get back in the rocket. Here we go. And let's head back up. And this time I'm going to cut away rather than wait through the whole countdown and ascent. Alright, this time let's go to Overworld, and we'll pick the moon this time. So there we go. And when I hit enter, it will send me to the moon, I hope, where I will probably meet Alice from the Honeymooners. Okay, here I have to fly down, so I need to use space to slow down. This is actually not too hard to land. I don't know. I suppose you can crash and hit too hard, but not altogether sure. This is not like the old, for any of you who are looking at some of those old simple lunar lander games from like more than 20 years ago. It's not that hard. Okay, we've landed. So let's get out of here, just right click, and here we are on the moon. Now I'm going to activate my Lantern of Paranoia to go ahead and place torches automatically. Maybe? I don't see it placing any torches. Don't know. I would have thought it would place torches, but I hear a mob. What do we got going on here? Probably just some zombies somewhere. You can certainly fly here. Okay, there we go. It's an evolved zombie. Let me get my sword out. Just come here and swat that guy. Alright, I don't want to kill too many mobs because they will take and fill up my inventory really fast. But I need to go and construct a fairly basic base here, and I will be back when I have that mostly done. Okay, I've laid out some dirt here on the moon, and I've planted some saplings. I've got just a little bit of area laid out. Let me see if I can get some sort of basic oxygen setup going here. Now, I am going to need to grow these trees. I can't just leave them like they are. So let me go ahead and get some bone meal to make that happen. It looks like they will grow on their own eventually, but I want it to be a little faster, so we'll just bone meal them up. Now, one thing that it just placed torches, it hasn't been doing so. It's the lunar day right now, and the lunar day lasts for a long time. So I haven't had darkness come up, but at night it will spawn mobs here, so I am going to have some sort of mob control to spend any time here. You'll also notice if you look at the oxygen bar in the lower right-hand corner of the screen that I've completely exhausted one of my tanks and the other one is partially exhausted. Let me go ahead and replace the tank that's empty with a full one so that I can go longer here without having to worry about running out of oxygen. Alrighty, we've got some trees grown, and I separated them a little bit because I don't want to like have all of my oxygen equipment all in one place, just in case, you know, a creeper decides to blow it up or a meteorite hits or something like that. So let me just put oxygen there. I thought I'd centered these a little better, but maybe I didn't. And we'll put some here and maybe right over here. Okay, so I'm going to have to hook up power to all of these. Oh, there's an evolved creeper down there. Let's get that dead. And lights do get placed in the caves when you go through here, assuming that you've got your appropriate equipment for it, the Lantern of Paranoia. Okay, Tesseract. We'll put that maybe right here near one of them. Did I get a crash here? Yes, I did. Okay, when I resolve the crash, I'll be back. Okay, back from the crash. Not really sure what happened there. But let me go ahead and put down this Tesseract, and we'll figure it for main power. And, yeah, that'll be fine. We're going to receive power only. Alright. Now, I got to do a couple of things with this. I'm going to need some energy conduits. And I'm going to need, let's see. I'll just start with the energy conduits and worry about some of this other stuff later. Yeah. I also need to put down my teleport pad here. Let's go ahead and do that. And I'll configure it. This is going to go to the base. We're going to call it Moon. M-O-O-N, that spells moon. We've heard that somewhere. Alright, so I've got to hook up power. Power goes on the side with the square outlet. Let me dig over to the Tesseract. And we'll get power over here. And I'll come in here with some conduits at some point. Conduit facades, rather. And cover most of this stuff up. So we are receiving oxygen now. You can sort of see the little particles coming into here. And I guess I want to take this oxygen and we'll come out of the side with the round outlet here. That one right there. And that's not the one we want. With oxygen pipes, and we'll bring it over here. And I guess I'll just run it past here for now. This is above ground, and I guess it will just sort of stay there until I figure out something a little better to do with it. I'm going to need more oxygen pipes. You can just make 100 of those things. They're pretty cheap. They're just glass panes. And we'll send them over in this direction. Because next I'll need to collect from this one over here. And I can do that just like that. Now, it's not hooked up to power, so it's not generating any oxygen at the moment. Let's go ahead and put in an oxygen storage module on here. And I'll have to rotate that so that it's got 2 oxygen outputs on it. It's getting up 60,000 there. And I'm not really sure how this lander is going to work here. It does have a rocket and launch pad in it. And I guess maybe I can probably break it. Yeah, there we go. So it's gone at the moment, but I don't know. But what if I try to land on the moon again that way? I probably won't take a rocket to the moon again, so I probably don't care. But if I did, then it might land a lander at the same spot. So I'll have to sort of think that over. Now, one thing I do want to do here is I want to go ahead and put down my oxygen bubble distributor. This is going to require power, so maybe I should hook it up over here a little further. And I don't think I want to have quite so many of these above ground. Alright. Alright, so if we put this down here, the round side is there, so let's rotate it around. Alright, so it should now receive oxygen. It says it's got plenty. It needs power. It looks like power has to go in over here. These Galacticraft machines do seem to be a little bit picky on which sides they bring things in. Okay, so we've got some sort of dome expanding here, and I think there's going to be oxygen inside there, which will stop my tank level from falling as long as I stand near this block. And it should expand out a little bit more. It's not going to be huge and cover this whole area, but it should expand out a little more than it has. So this will sort of establish a safe spot where there's oxygen. I don't know how much further it's going to expand. It's getting a little bigger. It's going to depend on how much oxygen and how much energy it's got and what its maximum capacity is, but that's getting to be a pretty good little area. So I can put down several of those potentially, I guess, as long as I can power them all. But I think it will be better to go ahead and build a sealed system, and I need to do that for an achievement anyway. So when I sort of expand out this base, I'm going to go ahead and hook up these other machines over here with power and so forth, and I will do a lot of base construction up here between episodes. And before I end the episode, let me go ahead and set up a waypoint. We'll just new, and we'll call it base. Now I'll go ahead and make it some nice conspicuous color. Okay, so I now have a pointer back to the base so I can do a little exploring. Let me launch up and see if I can find anything that is of particular interest. I think one of these meteors, there should be somewhere close by one that's a little deeper than the others. That's okay. We've got a village over here. So this is a moon village. You can't actually trade with these guys. You could use their buildings as a base, though. That's certainly an option. You just put in sealers, but little alien villagers with tall dome heads, but you can't trade with them, so do keep that in mind. It's not necessarily that useful. What we're really going to be looking for here is a moon dungeon so that we can get the schematic for the next tier of rocket so we can go to Mars. And I don't immediately see one. It should be a narrow and deep crater. And I might have to hunt quite a bit between episodes to find one. It may not be immediately obvious where it is. We can sort of see some ores down there. That looks like copper and cheese. Yeah, copper and cheese ore. Okay. Yes, you can mine cheese on the moon. I guess I'll just have to search for the appropriate places between episodes, and then we can go and explore down into the dungeon. Next episode, maybe. It just depends on what else I've got on the agenda. So I guess with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next episode.